Okay, this sets us up for something we're going to do tomorrow, okay? It's going to be actually a 3-part assignment, okay? And pause the video at various points when I say to go work. You have a division problem. You have 8 divided by the square root of 4. Now look up see if the square root of 4 is on the board. It is. It's equal to 2. So you replace the square root of 4 with 2, and that allows you to divide 8 by 2, and that's 4. So you're like, what's the big deal about that? Well, the square root of 2, is the square root of 2 up on the board? No, it's not. But you still have to divide. The problem is you can't divide a number that's in a square root by a number that's not, okay? So it's not going to be as simple as here. So here's what you do. You're going to put a multiplier on top and bottom, and you're going to multiply both the top and bottom by the square root of 2. Okay, and here's what happens. The top, what I write, since 8 is not a square root number and 2 is, you put 8 square root of 2. Now on the bottom, since they're both in square roots, we make a square root and we put 4. Now I know the square root of 2 is not up there, but the square root of 4 is. So I replace that with 2. And now I can divide the 8 and the 2. Multiply, divide operations, you can only do numbers outside of square roots. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and I attach a square root of 2 next to my 4. It's takes a little bit to get used to. Okay, the square root of 4, look on the board. Can I get rid of it on the spot? Yes, I can, because it's equal to 2. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. So that's a quick one. This next one won't be as quick because the square root of 5 is not on the board. So I multiply the top and the bottom each by the square root of 5. Okay? It's the same square root you have on the bottom that you can't get rid of right away. So on top, I put 10 square root 5. That's how you write a product when you have a square root number and a non-square root number. The bottom, you have 2 square root numbers, so you need to multiply 5 times 5. That's 25. What's the square root of 25 equal to up there? It's 5. So now I can do what I always wanted to do and cross out that square root on bottom so I can actually divide. So 10 divided by 5 is 2 square root 5. Okay? Square root of 9. That would be 3, and you can just divide. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Now, you saw what to do when you have a number in a square root that's not on the board. Here's a quick way to do it, though. What you can do is scribble out the square root, and now you have 3 as long as you bring square root of 3 to the top. Okay? That's a quick way rather than show all this process. So you can eliminate the square root as long as you bring that square root to the top, and it's got to be the square root, okay? See, look how this would have worked out. Don't write this down, but just watch. If I could have just got rid of the square root and just brought square root of 5 to the top, 10 divided by 5 would be 2 square root of 5. Same thing right here. This was the original problem. I could have just got rid of my square root as long as I brought the square root of 2 to the top and divided then 8 by 2 to get 4 square root of 2. Okay? So that's a quicker way to go about it. And then I could just divide 18 by 3 and get 6 and put the square root of 3 behind the 6. You can't multiply those. Okay? Okay, on the next one. Square root of 2, is that up on the board? Nope, that's called an irrational square root then. So you can eliminate the square root as long as you bring that square root to the top and put 2. Now I'm going to divide 15 by 2. I know it's a decimal, but that's okay. That'll be 7.5 square root 2. Okay, I don't know what that is there for. Square root of 36 is up on the board, okay? So if it's on the board, you just delete it on the spot and put 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So if it's on the board, it's pretty quick. You just scribble it out, get rid of it, and divide. If it's not on the board, you're going to eliminate the square root. Now you have just a number, but then as long as you bring the square root to the top. If you have a question, let me know. So pause the video and do these problems right here on the back. That's going to be for part 1 of your assignment. Okay, in part 2 of the assignment, you're going to solve a proportion involving a square root. It's just cross multiply and divide. So here's the x, so I'm going to find that product there, but the problem is 8 doesn't have a square root and 3 does. So what I do is I write 8 and put square root of 3 next to it. Then I underline it and I put 1. Now 8 divided by 1 is 8 and I put square root of 3. Okay. Next up, now you're solving for y. So here's my y. So again, if I wanted to take, I can't take 10 times 2, 10, because it's not 10 times 2, it's 10 square root of 2. And then I divide that by 1. 10 divided by 1 then is 10, and I attach the square root of 2 onto my quotient. Okay, now the game changes a little bit. So here's y, so you got 20 times 2. Now you can multiply now, okay, because neither one of those is a square root number. You take 20 times 2 and write 40, okay? And then you put your square root of 3 on bottom, but now I can't divide, okay? So what I do is my little trick. I can eliminate my square root as long as I put square root of 3 on the top. Now I can divide 40 by 3. 13.3 repeating, and then attach the square root of 3 onto your quotient, okay? Okay, next problem. Here's the x, so I would take that 15 times square root of 3. Now you can't multiply, you have to keep it separate. It's a separate product, okay? Divide by 1, and I can divide 15 by 1. That would be 15 square root 3, okay? Okay, do the back side. If you struggle on this one, come and ask me, okay? Now, here's your last part. This is pretty easy. You're not going to make any calculations, and it all sets us up for what we're doing tomorrow, okay? You have 3 angles in a triangle. This is 30, that's 90, that's 60. If I add those 3 together, it's 180. A triangle always has 180 degrees, okay? 30, 60, 90 is a special kind of triangle, okay? It's a special kind of triangle because the sides always form a ratio, okay? And here's how you label the sides with your ratio, okay? They're not exactly how long the sides are, they're the ratios that make the sides up, okay? And the sides always go in a ratio of 2 to the square root of 3 to 1. Those are semicolons for ratios. But what side's what, okay? Now, 2 is your longest side. 2 is longer than the square root of 3. So, and put a 90 there. So what you're going to do, this is the longest, this is the shortest, square root of 3 is in between the two. So go to your longest angle and make kind of a horizontal line across it. That side will be the longest side. It will be 2, okay? Then what's your second longest angle? 60. So I put my pencil in that angle, go across, and that is my second longest side, square root 3. And then my shortest angle is 30, and across from that would be 1, okay? That's all I want you to do there. Practice labeling it. So a 30, 60, 90 goes in a ratio, 2, square root of 3, 1. 2's longest, square root of 3 second longest, 1. Okay, here's why square root of 3 is the second longest, because if I actually square root 3, it's irrational, 1.73. Well, that's shorter than 2, but it's higher than 1. Okay, so that's how that's going to work. So 90 is my largest angle. I go across from that, and that's the 2. Your second longest, biggest angle is 60. So across from the 60 will be your second biggest side, square root of 3, and then 1, okay? Now, label these, pause the video and label these as your assignment on that part. Now, here's another type of special triangle. You've got a 90, a 45, and a 45. So I'm going to take 90 plus 45 plus 45. And that's 180 again. Now, 45, 45, 90s go in a special ratio too. Okay? And here's what they are. Square root of 2, 1, and 1. Okay? Now the square root of 2 is my longest side because that is higher than 1. Okay? These are something you just got to memorize. Like here, 30, 60, 90 always go in a ratio of 2 square root of 3, 1. The 45, 45, 90s always go square root of 2, 1, 1. So, here's my biggest angle. Go across from it, and that's your longest side, square root of 2. Then, I pick one of the 45s, and that's 1. The other 45 would also be 1. That's all I need you to do. Just label the ratios that they form. Okay? 45, 45, 90. So 90 is your biggest angle, so you go across from that angle, and that's your longest side, so the square root of 2. Then pick a 45, it doesn't matter which one, that's 1, and that's 1. Okay? That's what you have to do. Please do a good job on it, otherwise you're going to be lost tomorrow.